For just £5 a month, you can get early access to all of our podcast episodes, copies of our script, access to further information, and that is just the tip of the iceberg. Head over to patreon.com/Sunday Night Mystery. £5 a month. That's cheaper than 15 minutes of parking at Bristol Airport. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Welcome to Sunday Night Mystery, where we delve into the chilling tales of unsolved crimes that still haunt us to this day. I'm Brett, and tonight we revisit a case that has remained a mystery for nearly half a century. Join me as we journey to beautiful Plymouth in Devon. The year is 1976, and our case is the unsolved New Year's Day murder of Esther Soper. On New Year's Day of 1976, the quiet neighbourhood of Motley in Plymouth was rocked by a gruesome murder that shook the community to its core. Esther Soper, a devoutly religious widow, was found dead in the hallway of her home, a victim of a brutal attack. Esther, who had recently moved to Motley after the death of her husband, was an active member of the Plymouth Brethren's exclusive order, a religious sect that valued isolation from the outside world. Her dedication to her faith meant she rarely socialised beyond the confines of her church. When Esther failed to attend a meeting of the congregation on that fateful New Year's Day, concern grew among the fellow church members. Two of them went to her home to check she was okay, only to discover her lifeless body lying in the hallway. She'd been bludgeoned with a cider bottle and strangled with her own tights, her body then callously wrapped in a curtain. The scene initially suggested a robbery gone wrong, as Esther's home appeared to have been ransacked. Investigators focused their attention on a man named Clifford Sparks, who'd visited Esther's house days before the murder and had an appointment to view it again on the day of the crime. Despite tracking down multiple individuals with that name, they hit a dead end, leading them to believe the name could have been fabricated. Another avenue police examined during the investigation was whether it had anything to do with her membership of a religious group or beliefs. The Plymouth Brethren are a conservative, nonconformist evangelical Christian movement whose history can be traced to Dublin, Ireland, in the late 1820s, originating from Anglicanism. The first meeting of England was held in December 1831 in Plymouth. The movement soon spread throughout the United Kingdom, and by 1845, the assembly in Plymouth had more than 1,000 people in its fellowship. They became known as the Brethren from Plymouth and were soon simply called Plymouth Brethren. They're only permitted to marry on a Tuesday, but are expected to attend church every day. On a Sunday, they attend church up to 3 times. When it comes to family life, men are expected to work while women stay at home. Girls are also expected to wear skirts and their hair down with a bow of some sort or headpiece attached. Scripture states that any woman caught praying with an uncovered head causes herself shame. The only picture of Esther Soper, which has been released, shows her with her head covered in a traditional scarf. It's understood that the Brethren don't use social media, radio, or televisions, which raises questions. If, as detectives have suggested, this was a robbery gone wrong, why would any criminal choose the home of Esther Soper? There would be very little of value to steal, as members of the exclusive Brethren aren't allowed to own such things as television, radios, or stereo systems, and there's never been any record made of property having been taken. During the inquiry, detectives found nothing to suggest a link between Mrs. Soper's religious beliefs and her murder. However, some have referred to the religious order Esther was a member as more like a cult. The 51-year-old had suffered what was described by police as a frenzied attack. She'd been bludgeoned to death and strangled with her own tights. She'd been wrapped in curtains and left on the floor. The question is, why were the tights used? As surely the vicious blows to her head were more than enough to kill her. Maybe some kind of sexual deviancy. The investigation into Esther's murder was massive, involving tens of thousands of interviews and the dedicated efforts of over 80 detectives. Despite their tireless work, no suspect was ever apprehended, and the case was eventually closed after just 7 months. Let's rewind for just a moment. A major manhunt was initiated, but for some reason, no one was ever questioned in connection with this killing. Esther was a peaceful, unassuming lady who lived in a terraced house at 9 Tremerton Terrace, Motley Plain, Plymouth. She rarely socialised outside of her reclusive community. Surely, with no sign of any forced entry, Esther must have welcomed her killer into her home. Does this indicate she either knew the person or thought he or she was a potential buyer of the house? This brings us back to the exclusive brethren, and would Esther have invited any visitor to her home that was not also from the same religious denomination as the doctrine of the exclusive brethren, which clearly rules that people not from their church are deemed unclean, and by inviting an unclean person into her home, that would have deemed Esther Soper's home as unclean, and wouldn't she have been punished by the cult? Surely Esther wouldn't have invited any lone male into her home, not even to view it, as she knew this would break the rules of the order she was devoted to. A terraced house in a fairly quiet street where neighbours from both sides could have seen and heard anyone visiting. No noise, no screams, or arguments are heard. No sign of anyone forcing their way into the property, and the killer then leaves unseen without a trace. Nobody was ever questioned about this dreadful murder. No arrests, no charges, making this something of an enigma. In the years that followed, attempts were made to gather DNA evidence from the crime scene, but those efforts proved fruitless. A cold case review unit was established in 2006, hoping that advancements in technology could shed new light on the case, yet, once again, the elusive killer remained out of reach. Today, Esther Soper's murder stands as the oldest unsolved homicide in the Devon and Cornwall police files, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk in even the quietest of neighbourhoods. As we mark nearly 5 decades since her tragic death, we're left with more questions than answers, and a family still searching for closure. Esther Soper was a much-loved mother and grandmother with apparently no enemies. She was killed in cold blood in her own home. So, who killed Esther Soper, the nice, quiet, deeply religious lady, on New Year's Day in 1976? And more to the point, why? Is there a link to her exclusive religious beliefs? Maybe, maybe not. Thank you for tuning in on Sunday Night Mystery. If you have any information regarding the case of Esther Soper, please contact your local authorities. Together, we can help bring closure to those left behind. For in the darkest of nights, it's only the light of hope that can guide us forward towards a future where justice prevails, shadows fade away. As we reflect on this haunting case, we're reminded of the importance of never giving up hope and seeking justice for those who can no longer speak for themselves. Join us next time for another episode of Sunday Night Mystery and journey once again into mysteries of the night where the ever-evolving science of DNA might just hold answers that bring secrets to light. Although, in the spine-tingling realm of Sunday Night Mystery, some enigmas defy resolution, leaving us to simply ponder secrets of the past. Until next week, stay safe, and remember, the truth may be hidden, but as long as we keep the investigation alive, it's never truly lost. I'm Brett, and I'll see you next time on Sunday Night Mystery. For now, stay curious, stay vigilant, and be sure to guard yourself against the darkness that surrounds us all. I'll see you next week on Sunday Night Mystery.